Welcome to the M&M Wellness Show. And I'm happy today to have Sonali Talalvikar on the show.
Hi.
And she's an inspiration to many people. She's done programs with the Indian Army at the NDA. They do not move.
Yeah.
They just do not exercise.
So many non-communicable diseases. Youngsters as young as 20, 30 or mid-30s, forget the 40s. But you hear about heart attacks, you hear about depression. I don't have a personal experience with it. I believe that if you consistently do something and if you listen to your body, it's always there to guide you. Something like from the womb to the tomb. When I walked into your studio and when I saw your aerial, what is it called?
Aerial yoga.
Aerial yoga. I said, I don't think I'll be able to do it.
Welcome to the M&M Wellness Show. M&M stands for Mind, Nutrition, Movement. I'm Rita Date, your host. I'm a yoga teacher, nutritionist, and author of 2 books on healthy eating. On this show, you'll cut through the wellness clutter and get practical information backed by scientific research, everything that you can use. Welcome. And I'm happy today to have Sonali Talalvikar on the show.
Hi.
I've known Sonali for many, many years, and at some point she was also my trainer for a little while. And she's an inspiration to many people, especially if you go on Pune's hills, you'll always see Sonali walking around. She's a homeopath, and she's done many things. Over the 28 years, she has formed a company called Serona Wellness, where she makes wellness programs for a variety of people.
Yeah.
Everything from kids to geriatric patients. She's done programs with the Indian Army at the NDA. She has done so many things for NGOs, shift workers, and probably more. I'm not saying everything, but she's always advocated for health and fitness. She recently has started with IPLA.
That's right.
The International
Literacy
Association, which we will hear much more about. I think it's a fantastic thing.
Thank you.
So, Sonali, welcome. And my first question to you is, tell me a little bit about your journey, where you started,
Right.
and who's helped you along the way.
Wow. First, Rita, let me thank you for inviting me on the show. And it's brilliant to see what you've done, because we go back a long way, and I have seen you really, be ahead of the times, and whatever effort you've put in to make this space is evident. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
And this is really, really good.
Thanks.
Right. So there are 2 aspects to this when you ask about my journey. One would be my personal journey, and the second one would be what we call, my work journey or professional journey. And I think somewhere they're always interlinked, right? So if you look at when I started being more physically active per se, I tried a lot of sports because I was always very sporty as a child. And I tried badminton, I tried basketball, I did hockey, and I always excelled at it. But maybe around the time I was 9 or 10, I discovered athletics. And that just blew my mind, and I said, this is what I want to do. And for the last 41 years now, I've been, as you know, running consistently. I've been, I didn't even know the words, like there is something called trail running, but essentially I run in the hills, and it's something that is very close to my heart. Now that's a little bit about what, I've been practicing. Apart from that, as we go ahead, I'm sure you'll be asking more questions and we'll take it there. But when I started off my journey as a professional, things were very different. So around 28 years back, the whole concept of wellness per se did not exist. And the first question people were asking me, that you're a doctor, why do you even need to go into this space? Why do you want to? Because the word used then was fitness.
Yeah.
Right?
There's no wellness.
There was no wellness, there was no aspect to it. And somehow I always knew that I'm on the right track, because it felt right, first of all. And secondly, I think no knowledge goes waste. So my medical background helped me to understand the nuances of fitness better.
Yeah, of course, anatomy
Right.
and how the body works.
Yeah. But that wasn't sufficient, so I had to study. Again, there were no courses, honestly, Rita. There was nothing. So I thought about what can I do? What is it that, might make it easier for me to understand what is essential to kind of have some kind of growth in this industry. At that time, I'm using really old words like industry. I think over the years, my whole sentiment around fitness and wellness has evolved. But to get a foot in those days, you needed a certification, right? So I
think they only had ACE certification back then.
ACSM.
Yeah.
So I am the first Indian to get the ACSM Health Fitness Specialist.
Oh.
And at that time, there were no resources. So we had to beg people who were going to the US, please can you get me a book so that I can study. And then, I did few more courses like I did preventive and promotive healthcare from Apollo hospitals. Then I did the ACSM. Then because I was always very interested in body image and self-image and a little bit of feminism, so I also chose to do something called the Women's Studies. Now I don't know whether it's even politically correct to say Women's Studies anymore because it's become Gender Studies.
Right. It
has become
changed.
Gender Studies. Now that's practically 25 years ago. But all of this has given me a very strong base when you talk about theory. And unless and until you understand the theory, I don't think you can translate it into practical. And if you ask me what was my first ever experience as a teacher, it was at the age of 13.
So you started 28 years ago. How do you see the health of the nation? How has it progressed or regressed? How do you rate it right now?
Okay. I think your show is also called The Health of the Nation, is it?
The first episode was called The Health of the Nation, but
so
I think I'm going to change it to Health of the Nation.
If that's what it's going to be called, I would have said that right now the health of the nation is in good hands. Okay. But otherwise, this is kind of loaded because while we see a lot of so-called improvement and infra being built, I don't think as a nation we are healthy, which is again being reinforced by any of the reports that we see, right? So if you look at WHO reports where we are seeing what is the status of India vis-a-vis health, and we are ranked pretty low when it comes to just about every health criterion that is there.
Yeah.
Whatever reports or whatever, it's not just about reports, it's only you need to open your eyes and see.
Yeah, and sometimes we live in a bubble, we don't see it. There's child mortality, there's still hunger, and there's lots going on.
So there's been progress in certain ways where you'll say, oh, we have super duper specialty hospitals, but how does that help the common individual is my question, right? Secondly, I think because of the fast-paced lives that we have and the rapid changes that have occurred in Indian society per se, from being a more community-based society to a more, nuclear and self-centric. I wouldn't call it especially selfish per se, but this is the time and this is how it's progressing. So I think a lot of
it has a lot of implications.
For example, so many non-communicable diseases, NCDs, which maybe one generation back weren't an issue. Right? So you have youngsters as young as 20, 30 or mid-30s, forget the 40s, but you hear about heart attacks, you hear about depression, you hear about skyrocketing suicide rates, and apparently we are also the cancer capital of the world. Wow. We also have the maximum number of pre-diabetics, and we also have a lot of people with diabetes, and these are we might say, okay, fine, we have a genetic predisposition, but it's also because of the lifestyle.
It's the lifestyle, yes.
Definitely. So if you ask me, yes, there is awareness, and most of us live life in pre-COVID and post-COVID these days, right? So post-COVID, there has been an awareness, but I don't know whether the information that is being given out is adequate to bring about positive change. People are more aware, they are more conscious about their health, about their eating patterns, but somewhere the knowledge or the information that is being passed on is not accurate according to me, because again there is
Why do you
excessive
think that is?
information.
Too much
There's
information.
too much
Too much
information,
information.
and there is not enough, nobody validates the information. Absolutely, people who have worked for years, for example, you worked for years, I have worked for years, and probably at those, those times, we didn't have the platform. So what you're doing right now, Rita, by inviting people who have probably had
The experience, the knowledge,
and
and experience.
Yeah. I think that's one thing which will bring about change slowly but surely. But when you're talking about influence, I feel that all of us need influencers, right? Positive.
We need to look up to somebody sometimes.
So, while we are here, I really want to kind of, offer homage to my great aunt, who was a pioneer nutritionist. So I'm talking maybe 40 years back. So by that time, I'm really, I'm blessed to have known her. She's Dr. Malti Karwar.
Yes, she's well known.
Yes.
Yes.
And she we just lost her on the 15th of September. She was 93. And, so there are people who have really worked hard and created a huge body of work, which is not visible at the moment to this generation. Because it's a quick fix generation. They just want to see, okay, what do I need to eat to look a particular way? What do I need to, what are the trendy exercises or what are the fads? Without actually, separating the grain from the chaff. So that is essential. And if,
talking about fads, one of my questions is, what do you think about these new exercise? Not new, they've been around, but like HIIT, TRX, what is the other one?
Too many are there.
Yeah,
there are
all
too
of
many
these
extreme things.
Yeah, the bungee workouts and CrossFit. That's the one I was thinking about.
Yeah.
So, what is your take on
Now,
these?
let me start by first of all saying that I don't have a personal experience with it, because I've never tried it. I'm pretty boring, if you ask me, because I believe that if you consistently do something and if you listen to your body, it's always there to guide you. But I feel that these are workouts which are extreme. First of all, they are, advertised as extreme workouts. The name itself is self-explanatory. And while they're promising certain results, I do feel that they can harm you. Because one thing about exercise, let's start right at the beginning. While exercise as a habit is excellent, exercise as an obsession or an addiction, is super harmful. Okay. And when you're doing certain practices like very high intensity workouts, unless and until you are also taking care of the other parameters, which is your nutrition, which is your rest, which is your mental health, which we cannot separate.
Isolate, yes.
Right? We cannot separate the two. I feel that they can be harmful because they are high intensity workouts. So they can harm, your joints. They may harm your heart, and also if you're working out at higher intensities consistently, we know that the cortisol level, which is the stress hormone in the body, it increases.
Right.
And if you have high cortisol levels, it's going to have an effect on each and every other hormone. And this is your stressing your body. Exercise is a temporary stress, which is actually going to help you get better. But if you are in a stress continuum,
right,
we know that it's going to harm you. So personally, if you ask me, I don't think I endorse it, but those people who want to try it, they can. But if you have any ill health or if you have any medical issues, and secondly, if you're doing it just because you've been told that it gives results, which is generally an aesthetic shape or something like that, I think it's better to stay away.
Right.
And practice certain things which you are able to do consistently for a long duration and which don't stress you out. I feel that is important. That is what a good exercise plan and a positive exercise plan looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
So that brings me to, there are these people who do these things. And then you have so many people in the office, or not just in the office, studying or in a different part of their life that do not move.
Yeah.
They just do not exercise. Some of them, like I know I go to a few offices and teach, chair yoga for the office goers. And they're young people. 25 is the average age.
Yeah.
And the only exercise they do is once a week they might go play cricket.
Yeah.
They don't move.
Yeah.
So what do we do? How do we get them to move?
Right. So now, Rita, again, this is not a problem which is limited just, like you said, to an office space. This is also not a problem which is limited to a particular age group. This is across the board. Even if we look at very young children, they are not moving as much as they need to, right? And this is not a prescriptive thing that I'm saying, that the WHO says that people of this age need to move for so many hours per day, etc., etc. First of all, I feel the problem arises because we don't prioritize health. So I'll give you, I'll just tell you a little snippet. So recently I had, we had a discussion with an academic institute where, they were talking about how our children need to be market ready. Okay. Go into the market once they graduate, so that they are ready to face the market, and how they, the courses need to be upgraded, etc. And my thought along all of this was, it's not a conveyor belt, first of all. And secondly, what about the physical and the mental health of kids, right? I feel up to school, when PE classes or, sports is compulsory, or the environment is there, people are active. The minute you are out of that environment, which is the age group that you are talking about, like young adults who are just moving out of home, there are so many problems. First of all, many of them move away from a city or a place they have grown up in, and they are not very familiar. Second is the economics of it. Third is maybe the traveling distances. So where do you find the time and the space to exercise, even if you have the will to? So I think the change could be possible if it became some kind of a corporate responsibility, where I know, again, corporates will tell us that no, we provide everything, but people are not willing to take it. So again, it is about education. It is about making everybody understand that things come and go, but your health, your vitality are really the most important things in your life. And if that kind of, information could be passed on in different ways, using different resources, using different media, and that too coming from people, the word influence is not enough. Are you able to have an impact?
Yes.
Right?
Impactors.
Rather than influence, because influence is okay. I feel I'm an influence. I'm influencing. Look at me, la la la, right? But when I'm speaking to you, or when, for example, even when this goes out there, what is the impact that it's going to have?
Right.
Again, I think creating an environment which allows people to be more physically active, okay, which gives equal importance to being physically active as is given to, let's say, your money making capacity, to your market value, etc. Once that happens, I think probably things will start changing. I think there are so many pressures on young people.
There's too many pressures.
Yeah, too many.
And especially I remember when my kids were in 10th and 12th.
Yes.
Everyone was like, they can't do anything else. But I made sure, and my daughter also wanted to do it. They both wanted to make sure they get their exercise in.
Right.
I mean, it just clears your mind, makes you active, your whole thing. So, but many parents are like, no.
It's 10th standard.
Time to study.
Standard. It's time to study. You can't separate it. It's part of your life. You need to move at all times to your best capacity without, not even going to an extreme place where if you don't get an opportunity, you feel that my God, I can't do anything more. Because, personally I went through that, where I had actually become an exercise addict, where I had developed dysmorphia. So that was probably in my late teens and mid 20s, where I was running like mad. I was exercising, I was limiting the amount of food I was having, and that was so harmful.
Right.
Because we also need to talk about what about your body image? How do you see yourself? What is being portrayed, that this is the ideal body shape, or even body positivity being taken to the extreme.
Yes,
that
you've done a lot of work
yeah,
on this
yeah.
too. Yeah.
So
I mean, young girls, especially at that age, that
yeah.
puberty age,
Yeah.
they restrict their food,
Absolutely.
and that's when they need the nutrients.
Absolutely,
That's when they
do.
need those calories, and they restrict it and diet, and it's
And then they over exercise, which is, one of the most harmful things that you can do.
Yeah.
So that's not loving yourself, that's not loving your body. So teaching these things and teaching ways in which you can do it throughout your life.
Sustainable.
It has to be sustainable.
Yeah.
So when you ask that, what about all these, we discussed in the previous question,
the types of exercise.
Is it sustainable? It's like when we say that, okay, you might be able to do a diet for some time, a specific diet, but a diet means a good eating pattern, right? So exercise is also the same. It's a consistent, sustainable, enjoyable exercise
Enjoyable,
pattern,
it should be, yes.
which is
yes.
so very important, right?
Yes.
Correct?
So this is how you got involved in IPLA.
Yes. Yes.
International Physical Literacy Association.
Brilliant. Yeah.
You've been with that for a couple of years now?
It's almost 4 years.
Wow.
now.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate we need this, but we need it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
good we
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about it and the work you do.
Now, first of all, most people don't, the word physical literacy itself is pretty new to most of the people that I interact with, because people probably feel it's like, word literacy or numeric literacy. But essentially, the idea of physical literacy is not old, but it was revived by somebody called Dr. Margaret Whitehead, who's a philosopher and also a PE educator based in the UK. So she's called the mother of physical literacy. And she said that looking at the, a lack of physical activity, or, how should you say, the fear that people have. People also have a fear of being physically active, because they feel that unless and until I do a particular type of exercise, I don't follow certain, in fitness I have to do strength, I have to do cardio, I have to do flexibility, and then I'm exercising. But then what about dance? What about yoga? What about cultural activities that we do? What about just walking? So there are so many different options. So she came up with, or coined, this word, which is physical literacy. And I must tell you, Rita, that across the world, this is a global phenomenon. And most places in the Western world, and even now here in India, we are trying to replace the word, sport, just sport, which looks at competitive natures and which looks at just, an elite triangle. So if you look at a triangular space, you have at the base people who start exercising, who are active, but by the time, you kind of move up to elite levels, it's just a fraction. And what happens to all the other children who started sports? They fall out, right? Because they didn't get the medals, or they did not get the opportunities, or whatever it is. So each of us has a physical literacy journey, right? And this physical literacy journey is your experience and your, relationship with movement per se. So it's something like from the womb to the tomb. And if you want a definition, we say that physical literacy, just listen to this very carefully, is the motivation, confidence, the physical competence, knowledge and understanding to value and take responsibility for physical activity for life. So it's not only about the physical aspect of it, but we are looking at the cognitive aspects. Do I understand why I'm doing a particular thing? Okay? And it is also looking at the affective part of it. So that means what are the emotions? So supposing, let's say person A hates running and has been told that that running is the only exercise that works, and no matter how many times he or she tries, she's not going to have a good experience with running. It's going to leave the emotional feel or the attachment to it is not going to be there, right? On the other hand, let's say that person enjoys dance or yoga. The emotional connect that is there is what is going to make that person go back to that activity, and once she or he is, successful with that activity, they are more likely to try new activities.
Oh, try new activities.
As well.
Oh,
they'll stick to those, but they will
okay.
feel, okay, I can do this. I never thought I could do this. So when I walked into your studio and when I saw your aerial, what is it called?
Aerial yoga.
Aerial yoga. I said, I don't think I'll be able to do it, right? But somewhere, because I have been physically active, I might say, yeah, let me just try it out. So it opens up the possibilities of being more physically active. And as an India ambassador for IPLA, I work with my colleagues. Our India head is Mr. Amit Malik, and we have a strong backing from Pullela Gopichand, who is India's badminton coach.
Yes.
So he got physical literacy into India in 2016, and we work at different levels, including in education, including trying to get governments, including the Indian government as well as state governments, to bring about policy changes in education pertaining to physical education. We visit, it's
great.
across the board.
You go to the roots as well as
grassroots,
yes.
as well as the top decision makers.
Right.
Let's say schools, colleges, corporates, anybody who can make a difference.
Change, yes.
And whoever is willing to, be an advocate for this idea, which is almost like the liberal arts of wellness or fitness. So it has a very strong academic backing as well. A lot of work has been done on physical literacy for years together. And this is not just in the UK, this is in Canada, this is in Australia, this is in Africa. In 2022, we had a 24-hour, something like a baton pass. So we started from Australia and we moved across the continents. We participated
in Asia.
And yes, we were part of India, because Asia we had other representatives as well, and we ended up in North America. And we saw what physical literacy is all about at a ground level, as well as in practice and as well as in theory. So another development is that the Supreme Court, there has been, how should you say, not that, it's not a bill per se yet, but there soon might be a change where physical literacy will be a fundamental right for Indians, and this will be a change in the Constitution. So it is at that level, and it's very simple. Let everybody move, let everybody enjoy the happiness, the health, and the positive benefits that come from being physically active to the best of their abilities. It's extremely inclusive. It's not limited to people who are abled. It's for everybody with all abilities or with different abilities. It could be for kids, it could be for the group that we talked about. It could be for very old people who are, again, we have this whole concept of ageism, where you're a particular age, you just need to sit and do laughter yoga, or you need to just go for a walk. So it's
for all 1.4 billion people.
Yes, yes. I know it sounds utopian, but if
it's
enough
a start.
of
You
us,
you
have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
If enough of us who are believing it in our own way, so you might not be using the word physical literacy, but you are doing
Movement.
You're
I
doing
use
movement
yes,
form,
yes.
right? And you are encouraging so many people to be more active, and it's like a dominoes effect. It just spreads and spreads and spreads, and more people are going to benefit, and that's what we are looking for.
That's wonderful.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for all the good work that you're doing. Just to wrap it up, tell people where they can find you and find out more information about you.
All right. So essentially, I'm not much of I'm not too much out there, but I do have an Instagram, which is Start Fitness India. Otherwise, as Rita said, you can always find me on the hill, which is our beloved Vetal Tekdi of Pune.
I'll put her. I'll put her handle on the show notes.
Yeah. That apart, I think it's been an excellent opportunity to talk to you, Rita, and I'm sure that this show is going to be fantastic. I won't use the word success, but impactful, and giving people a lot to chew on and think about in the proper direction. So I really wish you all the best.
Thanks.
And this was fantastic.
Thank you guys. And until next time, bye.